So for the last few weeks, I've been talking about the stages of change model created by two psychologists called James Prochaska and Carlo Di Clemente. And to summarize, their stages of change model essentially looks like this. First you're in a stage of denial, which is pre-contemplation. Then you enter a stage of contemplation, which is stage 2. And this is where you're actually thinking about change. Then you prepare for change, and that's stage 3. And then you actually start to do the change. This is the action and the maintenance stage. But what they also include in their model is the stage of relapse. And this is one of the reasons why I really like their model and how they explain the change process. Because in their model, relapse on your goals or slipping on your goals is actually a part of the change process. Think about it as it applies in your life. Every time you've probably tried to change something in your life, whether you wanted to stop eating chocolate cake, or perhaps you wanted to reduce or eliminate carbohydrates from your diet altogether, or maybe you want to reduce alcohol, or maybe you want to stop gambling, and maybe you want to do more of something else, like maybe you want to exercise more, perhaps you want to read more. Whatever your goals are, you've probably been unsuccessful at reaching them the very first time around. So this is why we often relapse and need to start the change process altogether. So with this in mind, there are a couple of tips I want you to keep in mind as you navigate this change process in your life. The first tip is that whenever you relapse, there is always something to be learned. Whenever you've slipped on your goals, there's probably something that triggered it. And reflecting on the causes of the relapse or reflecting on what was happening in your life can actually increase your chances of being successful the second time around. And the second point I want you to keep in mind is let go of the feelings of guilt. Let's face it, we tend to feel frustrated, disappointed, and ultimately guilty whenever we slip on our goals. I get it, that's normal. But once you've learned the lesson from what caused you to slip on your goals, then you got to let go of the feeling of guilt. I do a lot of work in addictions, and so sometimes I'll talk to people who are, let's say, drinking, and I'll ask them, what are the emotions behind your alcohol use? Or what are the emotions behind your gambling use? And one of the things they will often identify is this emotion of guilt. That because they feel so guilty for hurting others, they feel so guilty for letting themselves down and letting others down, that they tend to drink more or do more of that problem behavior in order to manage and to cope with those feelings of guilt. In summary, we all relapse, and essentially relapse is more of a rule rather than the exception. But when you relapse, number one, try to figure out what you can learn from that situation, and after you've learned it, number 2, let go of the guilt associated with that relapse. I hope this tip helps with your balance, your growth, and your attempts at change. Take care.